Champagne and beers.
Right, baby. Welcome to Big Pick 4, the NFL picking show, where the NFL picking experts, Big Danny D and Big Brian B, give you the best 4 picks for NFL Sunday games, to include the Big Danny D guarantee and Big Brian B guarantee. Brian is in absentia for tonight's show. He is mourning over the cancellation of the Pennsylvania Bucks CB West football season. What happened there, Dan?
Well, I mean, I guess it was in its proportion. It was a big hazing scandal in high school where freshmen told to grab the genitals of some of their teammates, and some of them wore towels over their heads, and then they put them in the shower as like a waterboarding kind of thing. A lot of bad stuff, a lot of horse involved here. So they canceled the rest of the football season, and probably the whole coaching staff is going to get fired.
He's been more on the receiving end of these incidents than he has on the delivery side, hasn't he?
Yes, he has.
Throughout the course of his lifetime, anyway.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he talks about trying to stuff guys in the liquor like that, but I bet it probably happened to him.
Exactly. So what we're doing now is we're recapping last week. We went 3 out of 4. Had a great week. Only lost one of the combined picks, being Cleveland. So we'll cover down on the recap of week 7. Losing with the Browns at the Jags. Winning with the Chiefs, Ravens, and Colts. Comments on last week's.
Well, the Browns are a bunch of assholes. That was unbelievable how awful that effort was in that game in Jacksonville. They were pathetic. Brian's old boy there, Pettin, really screwed the pooch. They were prepared, they were unmotivated, they were not in the game at all. That was awful. They were full of themselves, really. After beating Pittsburgh for the second time in 15 years, they finally beat Pittsburgh, 15 seasons. And then they just laid an egg in Jacksonville. That was pathetic. That was a horrible, horrible performance. Now, the other pick, everybody called it on that Kansas City pick. We laughed at him and made fun of him, but the Chiefs came through. The Big Tim, he pulled a rabbit out of his hat, and they won that game outright, which was impressive. And, of course, Atlanta got obliterated again, like I said they would. They're awful. Their entire offensive line is hurt. Everybody's gone who started the season. And the Ravens took advantage and beat the out of them. And then the Colts played a great game. They played their best game of the season, beating Cincinnati 27-0. Cincinnati didn't cross the 50-yard line until like 5 games in the game. The Colts were great. So they really came through again. I think 4-0 with the Colts is a guaranteed pick, either for me or Brian.
The Colts was the guarantee for Big B.
Yeah.
You had the Ravens.
Yes. Yeah. The Ravens, they destroyed Atlanta. Atlanta is awful. Everyone's going to be fired there. The coach is going to be fired, and the general manager is going to be fired, and a lot of the players are going to be gone.
So the Ravens put on a show. The Colts put on a show. There was no question on any of those games. What's happening to the Chargers here?
Oh, no. They lost again on Thursday to the Broncos. I mean, I think the Chargers are a good team. But
they lost outright to an underdog. You picked the underdog, and it wasn't. They lost outright.
Yeah, well, it's because Andy Reid's record after a bye, something like 18-3. And he's amazing after a bye week. His teams don't lose. I mean, his problem is not good at making in-game adjustments. His halftime adjustments are awful. He doesn't know what the hell he's doing. But if you give him 2 weeks for a game, he already has, which I guess you could pretty much put anybody in that position. Give him 2 weeks to prepare for one game. But he does a good job. And San Diego defense is that team is starting to get hurt by injuries. They have a injuries on defense, injuries in their secondary, and their running back situation is getting worse and worse. They need Matthews to come back as possible.
So there you have, right now with the overall, we're at 12, 15, and 1 on the overall with the battle of the guarantees with the Big D at 5 and 2 and the Big B at 4 and 3. Oh wait, these are vintage labels though. These are very special. There's another vintage High Life champagne beers label. So let's get the combined pick. Week 8, number 1, big pick 4, DD.
All right, first combined pick is the game in London, which is being played at 9:30 in the morning East Coast time, 1:30 over there. They have daylight savings time a week before we do. Anyway, the game is Detroit versus Atlanta, neutral site. Detroit is favored by 3.5. Detroit has the number 1 defense in the league. Atlanta's pathetic. As I mentioned earlier, their entire offensive line is hurt. Their defense stinks. So I don't think it really matters that Detroit is going to be without Reggie Bush and probably without Calvin Johnson. I don't know why they would play him in this game because they're going to have a bye week, give him another week to heal after the game's over. And I expect Detroit to win. I don't think this should be much of a contest. I expect it to be similar to the game that they had against the Ravens, like a 25-7, 25-10 kind of game. Detroit will put up some points against that team, but it won't be less like a 40-10 kind of blowout. I don't think Detroit can score that much without Johnson, but Atlanta won't be able to handle them, and I would take Detroit getting 3.5.
And there were how many last year?
I think 2. Used to be 1. Now they need 2. Now it's 3. And they want to make it a caveat to get a Super Bowl. They want you to have to play. Your team have to play a home game in London if you're going to get the Super Bowl, which is kind of ridiculous.
Wow. So combined number 2, week 8, Danny J.
Our second combined pick is a Brian pick. I think it's a gut pick. It's Chicago at New England. New England is getting 5.5. He's going to New England. I guess we're both going to New England, to be fair. New England's been playing really well lately. Chicago isn't at home. I don't know what happened to them at home. Their own. They have a lot of infighting. Brent Marshall was calling out the quarterback. Brian Urlacher was on the other day and he killed Cutler all saying he's not afraid of sucks. Brandon Marshall compared they tried to yell at the whole team when he probably just yelled at the quarterback that he's not doing his job. Cutler had turnovers in the last game against Miami, and they're pretty much shut down. They didn't do anything until it was too late. New England just seems to find a way. I don't know how, but they find a way. 5 and 2. They've had good, just win. I don't understand how it happens. Offense is they're deep, beat up every, but they just win. So I guess they go in touchdown in this game. Chicago, this is awful. The Dolphins ran all over them last week. They didn't stop them at all. Lamar Miller and Daniel Thomas just ran up the field on these guys. It was terrible. So because of New England will be able to control the ball, and we'll be able to win the game by down.
Wow, it's so hot. Can I have a Brahma?
Sure, Brahma for your lady.
Hey, can I have one too?
Okay, another Brahma over here.
Week 8, are you for real, Danny D?
All right, week 8, you for real is a Seattle punt team. Now that play that St. Louis pulled was incredibly entertaining and amazing that it worked. That fake punt where they got on the other side of the field. But my question is, if you're on the punt team and you're the punter, don't you know where the punt's supposed to go better than the team that's receiving it? Don't you have a plan? Say, okay, we're going to punt it over there. Everyone run over there. I don't understand how that works. How you get completely faked out on your own punt. How does that happen? How does that happen? I mean, I've never played on punt coverage. I don't know how it works. But it just seems kind of weird that you think you would know where your punter is punting the punt. Especially indoors where there's no environmental factors like wind that might push the ball a certain direction. You can punt it anywhere you want when you're inside. It doesn't matter. And you'd think the coverage team would know where to go and not get faked out completely on a play like that. That was amazing that happened. That doesn't make any sense to me at all. I mean, it was a great play. The Rams pulled it off. They did a great job. But the coverage team, you for real. I mean, how can you not know where the ball's going to go? They didn't say, I'm going to punt it there. It doesn't make sense at all to me. I don't get it.
I don't know that's part of the plan that well, you might say right sideline or left sideline.
You don't know how deep you're going to kick it, obviously. That's uncontrollable. But you know what side of the field you're going to kick it to. I'm going to kick it to the right or the left. Especially, again, if there's no wind. It's indoors. You can kick it anywhere you want. And the coverage team should know where to go. How can you be completely faked out like that? You know where your punter is punting the ball.
So Seattle got faked out on the punt is what you're saying?
Completely. The guy caught the ball on the other side of the field. They were 40 yards away from where the ball was. They were on one sideline. The guy caught it all on the other side, on the other opposite side of the field, and he just ran up the field because there's nobody there. It was the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. How can you not know where your punter is going to punt the ball? I mean, I understand maybe he shanks it, okay. Maybe he kicks it too deep, okay. I get all that. But to kick it and then you run the opposite direction of where he kicked it doesn't make sense at all. I mean, I understand the Rams, their plan was to go to one side and have the other guy go to the other, okay. But you can't look at the guys. You have to know where your punt. You have to run where you know the punter is going to punt it, regardless of what the other does. And I don't get that. I don't get how that happens.
So what happened? The Rams had a big return?
You didn't see the play? Seattle was punting, and everybody on the Rams in Seattle ran to the right side of the field. But the ball was actually kicked all the way to the left. And and there were two Rams over there. One guy caught it, and then he ran up the field, and no one touched him. And he scored an 88-yard touchdown. There was nobody there. I don't get it. I mean, you think you know where the guy's punting the ball. And
without that punt return for a score, would Seattle have not lost?
They might have won. There was that, and there was another play at the end that the officials kind of botched too on a fumble that wasn't reviewed. That probably should have been. When it was actually, they said no clear recovery because the referees screwed it up. But that's beside the point. Yeah, it helped them win. They won by I think 4 or something. It would have changed the game completely.
So, but that wasn't well. I mean, if you take away the score, would Seattle have won?
Yeah, it would won by 3.
Well, so there you go.
Yeah, I mean it was a botched play. I mean, Seattle should have covered it better. I understand that, but I just don't understand how you could be faked out when you know where your kickers, the general direction they're going to kick it in. To miss it by 40 yards like that just doesn't make any sense. Again, I understand if you're like in Chicago and the wind takes the ball, you're not really sure where it's going to go. Okay, I can understand that. It happens. But not inside. I just don't see how that can occur. The special teams coach should be fired for that. That was unbelievable. I don't understand. I don't get it. I don't get how that works.
So the game was all about punting, apparently.
Apparently, yeah. The Rams
with the fake punt and with the punt that wasn't covered well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's about the Rams fake punt offense and the Seattle kind of just not playing very well.
It's actually legal to get a midget, and when they try to kick a field goal, everyone gets in a circle and you just launch the midget up in the air to try to block the field goal.
No, it's not.
It's legal. Not sure why nobody actually uses that technique.
No, they actually about I don't know, I guess 100 years ago now, they had to create a rule because some college team would put the guys down on the line. Then you would have guys stand up on their backs to try to block the field goals. That's why you can't do that. So you'd have these guys standing there with their arms up in the air, top of the other guys, so they're like feet in the air like this, and they block field goals that way. They outlaw that.
Now here's yet another vintage High Life label.
Man, you just go to the pack.
Oh yeah, I have a limited edition collector's series.
You're going through the whole case on this show.
Mm-hmm. No, there's only 12 of them. Otherwise, I would go through the whole case, but there's only 12. So.
That's right. This is only a half-hour show.
That's right. We don't have enough time, folks. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
To disappoint you. So we'll now have the big Danny D guarantee, week 8.
All right, my big D guarantee for week 8 is Baltimore at Cincinnati. Baltimore is favored by 1 point. This game actually opened at Baltimore plus 2.5, and now switched to Baltimore -1 by the end of the week. Cincinnati really hasn't been awful the last 2 weeks or 3 weeks. They got shellacked by New England. They tied Carolina in a truly awful game, and then they got destroyed by Indianapolis this past week. They've been awful. A.J. Green's going to be out again. They announced that he's out. They haven't been able to run the ball very well. What's his name? The quarterback there hasn't been good. Dalton. And their defense hasn't really shown the last 3 weeks either. They've given up 107 points in the last 3 weeks, which really isn't very good. The Ravens have played well. Joe Flacco is probably having the best season of his career this year. His receivers have responded to him. They're running the ball well with Forsett and with Pierce and with Farrow, I believe his name is. And they've played really well. Their defense has played better, and I just don't trust Cincinnati right now at all. And it's a very low spread. So I would go with the Ravens in this game.
So the Flacco show is going to last another week, you say?
Yeah, I believe they're a superior team. Cincinnati just has showed nothing over the last 3 weeks. Absolutely nothing.
Now, if you want to crown them, then crown their ass.
So we're looking for the Flacco experience for yet another week.
Yes.
And we will now have the big B teabag guarantee from Danny D.
All right, the big animal chasers guarantee this week, or I guess chasee of animals, since they tend to hunt him down when he walks home every Friday. This is a shout out to all the wolves, bears, deers, rhinos, elephants, lions, bears, whatever they chase him every week. I think he'd be in better shape if he was chased by animals. But anyway, he's going with the old trap game this week. He is taking New Orleans -2.5 at home against Green Bay. Green Bay is coming off a series of big wins, and
Drew Brees.
Drew Brees actually blew the game last week for the Saints against the Lions. The Saints are not going to have two of their top running backs are both out. Ingram and Cadet are out. They're not sure if Jimmy Graham's going to play, but for some reason, Brian really has a lot of confidence that the Saints are going to come through. I know they've won 11 straight home primetime games, but this one's going to be tough. Green Bay's played really well lately. Aaron Rodgers has been great since he told everyone to relax about 3 weeks ago. He's been playing out of his mind. But again, I agree. New Orleans at home. They should get a little extra energy there. The defense plays better at home. And it's a small spread. It's 2.5. So if they win by a field goal, you win the bet. So, and they need to win. I mean, if they lose this game, New Orleans' season's probably over because they'll be 2-5, even though their division's awful. Because Atlanta's going to be 2-5, and what's their names? Carolina's 3-1. I mean, it's not like, and then you have Tampa who just blows anyway. So who knows? But if they want to make the playoffs, they have to win. So we're going with New Orleans, or he's going with New Orleans.
line moves are important every week, and as a bettor, you need to be cognizant of that. And in the big green apes favor, I will say that the New Orleans line has moved to a more favorable status from a pick'em to a -2 and a hook. Oh my God, no! So you're even in correction. You're even in better shape. Your line's what I call a flop. You flopped from an underdog to a slight favorite.
Yeah, I mentioned that little description there.
Yeah.
I said it went from a +2.5 to a -1 for Baltimore. Because everyone realized Cincinnati stinks, and depending on Baltimore.
Right. Yeah. So your line has flopped from a +3 to a -1. That's what I call a flop. And Big B's line has moved from a pick'em to a -2 and a hook. So you're both on the right end of the bettors weighing in based on the line set by the bookies.
True, but you gave a whole speech about 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago about how that 2.5 line is a trap line because it really tends to favor the away team by really half a point. It's in the full 3.
Yeah, we always talk about Vegas trap lines, and whenever that conversation comes up, it's always 2 and a hook, right?
Yeah,
it's like
always 2 and a hook.
It's a trap line. Yeah. But Vegas didn't set that line, though. If Vegas set the line at 2 and a hook, I would agree with you, but they set the line at a pick'em, and the bettors have moved it to 2 and a hook, so good for them.
I guess, but I think there'd be a lot of action on Green Bay in this game, just because they've been so hot and New Orleans has been awful.
But let me tell you something. That line going from a pick'em to a two and a hook on a favorite has nothing to do with Vegas, because once they set the line, it's out of their control. That's automated at that point. They gotta try to balance the bets so that they can still get their vig, and still make money on the transaction. So that's not on Vegas. I mean, to Vegas, that game's a pick'em. To the bettors, they're saying, no, Vegas, you were actually wrong to the tune of 2.5 points. So what did that line move? Now, if you go back to your Baltimore line, your line only, if you look at like a net movement, your line actually moved more, so that's a more favorable line. Your line as a net moved 4 points, right?
Yeah, from -2.5 to 1. +2.5 to a -1.
Well, I got a +3 to a -1, so as a net, so you had to move 3 points to get to 0, and then you moved to -1. That's 4 points. And so yeah, you're both on the right side of the coin there. So
Coco the Gorilla might be on something here with his New Orleans pick.
He might be. Yeah, I mean, let's all get rich, okay? Let's just every week for NFL, for as long as we leave, let's just pick the favorites and let's all get rich together. How's that going to work out for you?
Yeah, right.
Some guy, probably about a third of your, what do we say, like a third or more of your picks every week. I mean, the favorites are going to lose.
Yeah, true. But I think you need to pick the right favorites.
All right, so there you have it. Your picks are in the books. For week 8, you're picking your Patriots, Lions for your combined picks. The Danny D pick is your Ravens, and the Big B pick is your Saints. As always,
score with Big Pick 4.